to the song.
Welcome to the Wolf's Den. My name is Mark Atterbury. Today's guest, if there was a Hall of Fame for contributions to the health, fitness and bodybuilding arena, this man would have a picture hanging high on the wall. He is the founder and owner of 6 gyms, Doherty's Gym. His brand and apparel is worn by bodybuilders, athletes and celebrities all over the globe. He is the president of the IFBB Pro League, and he's the business partner with the one, the only, and probably the most recognizable man on the planet, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Please give a warm welcome to Tony Doherty.
Thank you.
So, Tony, we met 13 years ago, and I remember I was a kid, I was 20 years old, and I called you up and basically called up the gym and said, hey, I want to speak to Tony. And lo and behold, you got on the call, and I said, mate, I want to compete, can you coach me? And you said yes. That was 13 years ago, the rest is history. The first time I walked into Doherty's Gym, and we will jump around in this interview a fair bit, but the first time I met you going into Doherty's in Brunswick, the only way I can explain it, being a 20-year-old kid, it was a Disneyland for bodybuilders. And what I want to start with is, was that always your intent, to create something that was comparable to the mecca of bodybuilding, which was previously known as, Gold's Gym in Venice Beach?
Yeah, pretty much. I went to Gold's Gym in Venice Beach in, I think it was 1991 for the first time. And I still had my gym in Bendigo, country Victoria, which was my first gym. And I walked in there, it was a little bit like you walking into Doherty's for the first time. It was like me walking into Disneyland. And I looked around, I saw the big guys I'd seen in the magazines training, and I saw this incredible atmosphere and all these pictures up on the wall, all this history. And I thought, yeah, we don't have anything like that in Australia. And I want to bring this one day to Australia. So when that's sort of how the vision started. And it was even more, like I went over there knowing that it was the destination point for all young bodybuilders, and you had to go there to experience it. But it was probably even more than I could have imagined, because you can't, from pictures, and back then it was just magazines, there was no internet, but from pictures you can't quite understand an atmosphere, right? You can look at something and go, oh, it looks pretty cool. But it's when it's a feeling. I remember when I walked in there for the first time, and I took an Australian bodybuilder by the name of Sonny Schmidt. So when I started promoting, he was the first guy that I kind of brought into the fold, because he wanted to be a professional. I thought I had the tools to get him there, which I did. And I took him to his first competitions in America. So we went and hung out at Gold's for quite a few weeks, and stayed at this place called the Marina Pacific Hotel, which was also kind of a destination point. And it was more than I could have imagined. And because we went in there together, and he had a bit of a following and I was coming up in the sport, they treated us really well. So we got a little bit of sort of sponsorship sort of status, and they gave us some clothes and let us train for free. And it was just super cool.
So just on that, you essentially, what you did was you bottled atmosphere in essence. You went and you saw the mecca, you saw the atmosphere, and that's what you wanted to recreate. In you looking at that atmosphere, was there something specific that you go, right, that's the X factor that I need to bottle and bring back to Australia?
No, I wouldn't say there was anything specific. I'd say it was a number of things that made it specific, if that makes sense.
Was there anything that you thought, right, that you emulated or tried your best to emulate?
No, honestly, what I tried to do is to do it better. And I know that sounds kind of cocky, but I looked at it and I thought, okay, this is really good, and it's more than I imagined. I guess I went there the first time and thought I was just overwhelmed. Wow. Then the next time I went there, like a year later, I thought it had softened off a little bit. Then I went there 2 years later, and it had started to become very corporate. And that was probably where I really did bottle, okay, it was what I saw in 91, 92 was way better than I saw in 94, 95. And I think if they had kept going in that direction, they could have actually got better at it. Instead, they got bought out by a corporate firm and started trying to please the masses. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep going in the direction they were headed in, and they're probably a year away from achieving what I'd already seen. And it sounds cocky to go to the greatest gym in the world and say I can do it better, but I did. And so I came back to build my brand here. And at first, I thought about doing Gold's Gym in Australia. And the guy that sponsored us over there was the international franchise manager, a guy called Rich Minzer, who I'm still friends with now. And he offered it to me, but it would have cost like about $30,000 or something to buy the licensing, and I would have had it for. But I didn't have $30, let alone $30,000. I couldn't have imagined. And I looked at World Gym, and I looked at Powerhouse Gym, I looked at all these big brands, because I knew you kind of had to have a brand. And I couldn't have afforded any of them. Even if they had given it to me, I couldn't have paid the first month, you know. But I'd been promoting bodybuilding for a few years, you know, Tony Doherty Presents. I thought, oh, people kind of know my name. I'm going to do Doherty's Gym. And then I don't have to play the company line or worry about someone changing direction, or I can be me. And once I knew that, I thought, right, now this is what I'm going to build. And I had a very clear vision of building what I've done.
When you talk about doing it better, is this a specific example that probably come to mind that you thought, right, well, this is where they kind of dropped the ball? Or was it more the culture that started and then kind of went to the corporate that you...
It was more that. It was more avoiding the sellout, you know, avoiding the membership consultants, you know, where I remember when I went back there one year, I couldn't tell you what year, and they put in these little booths where the membership consultants sat with their friggin' body shirts and school shoes. And I thought, that's not a gym, man. I never want to do that. I never want to have a call centre. I never want to have my people sitting around doing telemarketing and having a dickhead in a body shirt. You know, and I hate that because I travel a lot now. Like I'm actually on the road about 6 months of the year, sometimes more, and I'm doing all the Arnold stuff. So wherever I am, I go look for gyms. And I always want to find a gym, you know, not a fitness centre or a fitness first or you know, whatever. But sometimes that's the only choice. And whenever I go into one of those kind of gyms, I'm like, hey, can I train? They're like, yeah, it's like $1 million for a casual workout, euro. Or I think it's like $30 euro, you know, to have a workout for an hour. I'm like, man, all right, I didn't want to.
So just on that, when we first met, it was 13 years ago, to life has certainly changed for me in a big way. I mean, back then I was single, no kids. The only worry that I had in the world was where my next meal was coming from. Contrast to you 13 years ago, I think it was 2015. I remember brief in catch-ups that we've had, there was something around you bankruptcy almost, or you really had to pull it out and turn things around. And to come to see where you're at now, I mean, if someone tapped you on the shoulder back then and said, hey, Tony, keep working hard back in 2005, you know, mate, you'll get there, you'll achieve everything in your wildest dreams and then some, and eventually be business partners with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, what was going on? First of all, I know that's quite a big question, but first of all, what was going on for you in 2005?
Right, I answered, but I'll just finish where I was going because someone was looking straight at me with that question. With the corporate thing, was what I didn't like was when I go into gyms when I'm travelling and have people say, before you can even have a workout, we'll get you a membership consultant. And you need to sit down and have a little interview before you can even see the gym. And then, do you have a credit card? And I hate that side of the industry so much that I thought, I want to be everything that's not that. I want people to come and go, hey, can I train you? $10, go. That's the end of the conversation. So that's that. So back to 2005 when we first met. You know, from the outside looking in, you'd think, oh, this guy's starting to go all right. You know, the gym, we'd sort of taken over the whole building where we're at, or not what we've got now, but the whole of the building in Western Street. We'd been open 24 hours for 7 years then, which everybody said was going to fail and was impossible, and there still wasn't a lot of 24-hour gyms there. But I didn't have the expos, I didn't have the other gyms, I wasn't doing the speaking tours and all that sort of thing. I hadn't, you know, partnered up with Arnold. So I'd just done my fourth pro show, Australian Pro, which is now the third longest running show in the world. But back then it was just like the one that everyone said would fail. Oh, this won't last.
That's the Arnold, the Olympia, and the...
Well, yeah, the Olympia's been going the longest, and the Arnold Columbus has been going now 30 years, and I'm in my 18th or 19th year with the Australian Pro, yeah. So that's, you know, when I started it, look, everything I've done, everyone said it was going to fail. Whether it was the first 24-hour gym, when I moved to Melbourne to do a bodybuilding gym, I said, that'll fail. I'm like, well, thanks, I'm going to do it anyway. And then when I moved into Western Street and went 24 hours and threw away the keys and said, we're going to be staffed all the time, everyone said that'd fail. Then when I did the pro bodybuilding, everyone said that'd fail. Then when I said I was going to do FitX and build this fitness expo bigger than anything else in Australia, of course they said it would fail. And then when Arnold approached me, I said, we're going to swap it now into the Arnold Classic and then the Arnold Sports Festival. Look, again, the same people. That can't work. You know, so I've really learnt that. You've got to take advice, but at the same time, stick to your guns and do what you know in your heart and what your passion is and follow it and make it work. And one thing I've learnt, Mark, sort of one of my more famous sayings, it took me a long time to get my head around this, and we're digressing a little bit, but we all have this habit of doing things to prove people wrong, right? Starts with your family, your brother and sister go, you're shit, you know, you're not going to grow your muscles. And you're like, well, I'll show you, I'll do it to prove you wrong. And you do a million curls and all these sit-ups and things. And then it might be your peers and it might be your mum, dad, someone. And all the time, one, we worry about what people think, which we shouldn't do. But two, we kind of want to do things to prove people wrong. And I had this revelation only the last few years, that where the essence of it lies is you're almost there. It's not that. It's do it to prove yourself right. So I always had this thing, when people said you can't do it, I'm not like, oh, I'm going to prove you wrong. It's like, yeah, you know what? I know I can do this. And I appreciate your concern. And a lot of people, you hear this, especially with the internet age, of us, oh, they're all haters. They're not. Most of them love you. They just don't want to see you get hurt or fail or experience loss or sadness and all this kind of thing. So they say, oh, mate, just take it easy. We just don't, you know, we just want you to be okay and not to fail. But you need to fail to grow, right? So I always have these advisors and people say you can't do it, and I wanted to prove them wrong at first. Now, no, I know where the truth is. Just do it to prove yourself right. Because if they really do hate you, and you win, and you get it right, they still hate you. They hate you more. And if you fail, they're going to be the first ones going, oh, I told you so, right? So why would you want to prove someone like that wrong when they don't, when they don't give a shit about you? Why would you care what they think? And this controls so many things that we do, worrying about approval of others. So I learned to ignore that. So back to 2005, man, yeah, I thought I was going okay, but the problem was I was never a good bookkeeper, was never good at doing budgets and all that sort of thing. I thought, oh, the gym's busy, we must be going okay. But we'd gone into an overdraft, I'd still had this debt. So, and I'm really open about this, I just don't lie, which is probably why my speaking stuff's kind of working, because I'm not on a pedestal saying I'm better than anyone. I'm just one of you guys, made more mistakes. But when I moved from Bendigo in 1994, I'd mortgaged my parents' house, or they had, to finance my first gym, which I paid, now that I know the industry, 3 times more than what it was actually worth. And I left there with $250,000 debt in 1994, a truckload of broken equipment. I didn't have a single thing in the world. I had a garbage bag of clothes. I slept on the couch at the gym for nearly a year. I had 3 possessions. I had a rice cooker, a couch, not a flash one, just a couch, and a vertical grill. You know those grills, they look like a toaster and you put chicken breasts in them? One of them. And a garbage bag, I didn't have a suitcase, garbage bags with my clothes in it. And I'd close the gym at night, wait for everyone to leave, and I'd hide in the car park behind a tree, because this is before we were 24 hours. And I've told you this story before. And then I'd get up in the morning and have a shower. I'd go up to McDonald's, because they opened at 5:30, and we opened at 6. And I'd get a coffee and a newspaper, because I had my dignity, and I didn't want to tell people I was effectively homeless and I'd slept at the gym every night. So I'd go and get a coffee and a paper and walk back to the door where they were now waiting to get in. 6 o'clock, can you open? And get there at 5 to 6. Good morning, everyone, as if I'd came from somewhere, my imaginary home. And I did that for nearly a year, because that's what sometimes you have to do to make a business work, and to not say to people, oh, poor me, you know. So I thought that was the hardest time I went through. Then forward wind to 2005, you know, I was in more debt, and that $250,000 debt had blown out. But what I can tell you, and I haven't told you this, is in April this year, I got a call from my long-suffering dad, who's been with me through all of this. He's now he retired, he's 77 now, so he retired at 65 and went full-time with my companies as our CFO accountant. He controls our accountants and so on. And he called me up in April. He goes, oh, he never asked me, you know, day-to-day questions about the accounts. He goes, oh, listen, I just want to transfer this money from the gym, whatever, because there's 12 accounts. I think it was a Brunswick gym account. Do you think we can afford to put some money across? You've been drinking? Like, what are you talking about? He said, oh, it's $39 I need to transfer. I said, what call me that for? He goes, because it's the last payment on that loan. And that loan from 1994, I paid off this year. So, you know, you've got to be patient. People think it's an easy roll, or, you know, you've got so many gyms, or you're traveling and seeing the world, you're rolling in money. It's not always the case. And 2005 was a real wake-up time. Remember when you came in, that we thought we were going okay, and it was like, I've got to do some other stuff, or we're going to get hit, we're going to sink. So that's when I started to reinvent myself and reinvent the brand even more, and just keep at it.
So what were some of the things that you were sprung into action? You thought, all right, we're not doing so well. Then what does Tony do? In the mind of Tony, all right, he sees the red light, it's flashing. What does he do?
Well, it's what you do and what you don't do. So what you do with any business, you have to look at reducing costs. There's two things: you either reduce your costs or you increase your income. So I'd always do a little bit of both. So I'd say, well, look, I'm not doing as many hours as I was. So I'll get back on the books doing some hours and filling in some gaps at weekends and evenings and things like that. I'll start, working more on internal promotions to get people to bring their friends into the gym, because we still didn't want to do telemarketing or mainstream advertising, that kind of thing. And just work on some new twists with the brand, some new twists with the clothing, and just have a good look at everything. So you kind of put everything under the microscope and go, oh, we're losing money on this and we're making money on that. Well, why don't we put more energy into that?
So if someone tapped you on the shoulder in 2005 and said, hey, Tony, you will one day be the business partners with Arnold Schwarzenegger, was that believable back then?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've believed it all my life. It's a crazy thing. But when I believe in something, when I get this fixation in my mind that I'm going to do something, I'm absolutely believe it. And I always have this thing, Mark, that you've got to visualise something and believe that it's true for it to happen. And you've got to dream really big. Because if you dream small or medium because you're worried about what people think, well, guess what? Guess what's the most you can get? So if you dream of having, I don't know, a cafe with 10 chairs, oh, that's my dream. Well, you're never going to have 20 chairs in your cafe, right? You're going to have 10, and it's going to be, wow, I'm satisfied. So I've always set the bar really, really stupidly high. And I figure if I just do everything I can to achieve that, and I fall a little bit short, it's still pretty big, right? Or if I fail and I don't achieve that dream, at least I have no regrets. I can die knowing I tried my absolute best. So I've always wanted to be like Arnold and to know Arnold, to work with him. And I remember going to the first, this sounds nuts, I've had this conversation with Jim Lorimer, who, I'll tell you about Jim Lorimer, but I met him I guess I went to the first Arnold in 1991, so I've been going for about 3 years. And I went with a few mates from Australia, and we walked in and everyone was like, oh wow, look at all the hot chicks, oh wow, look at all the free shit they're giving out, oh wow, look at the bodybuilders. And I walked in there and went, wow, I'm going to bring this to Australia one day. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. One day we're going to have Arnold Classic Australia. I don't know how, when. One day I'm going to do a professional expo. And I got to have a minute with Jim Lorimer, who was in his 60s then, and he said, I said, have you got time for a question? He goes, one question, what is it? You know, he's just, I'd never met anyone like him. And I go, oh, one question, wow. When do you start working on next year's one? And he goes, Monday morning, and walked off. And I was like a kid, I was probably, 25 or so. And I'm like, hey. So I think I want to do this, but I knew I wasn't mature enough to put 365 days straight into something. I knew that I was not capable of working 100 days straight. I was still one of those 9 to 5, not 9 to 5, but you have weekends off kind of guys. And it was some years later when I realised, okay, if you really want that dream, you've got to bite down, stop messing around and commit yourself fully. So when I started FitX in 2011, well, I was probably ready in about 2009, but I couldn't get the venues, like all the things didn't line up. But I knew what I had to do. I was ready to work harder than ever I had before. And I think doing the Pro Show taught me that. Producing something with no money, no budget, and no hope, and still making it work. So when I went into my first expo, I remember those words from Jim Lorimer saying, you're going to have to work for 300 days straight, and I did. And then as that turned into the Arnold, and I got to meet Arnold and everything else, that was the only thing I could promise them, was I'll just outwork everyone. And it always stuck with me. But people, think you're too old to try something. And I do a little bit of mentoring work with younger people, some older people. And of course, oh yeah, but I missed my chance. Just check this out. Jim Lorimer, just in October, he's turning 92. Right? He started the Arnold Classic when he was 62. He retired. And he'd been promoting some shows with Arnold for a few years, on and off, and they had this idea to do the Arnold Classic. He goes, oh, I'm ready to go. What about you, Arnold? Can you keep up? And he still goes to work every day. He's still got a car and everything. He's 92. So we just had our 30th Arnold Classic. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, hey, and you're 90-something. And you just did the 30 years. You started it when you were 60, man. You built the biggest multi-sport festival in the world, 10 times bigger than the Olympic Games, and started when you were 60. So just keep that in mind if ever you're feeling a little bit sorry for yourself or a little bit like you missed your chance. Never
So the Arnold Classic feels almost like a 20-year game of chess, moving the pieces very strategically, methodically, and just
For me?
yeah, and waiting
Absolutely.
time and going, all right, and seeing that big vision. And I think I just want to make a point on that for those listening and those watching, in that, you know, things don't happen overnight. That's a 20-year example that you've got to put your ducks in the row, and what you do today will affect the, you know, downward stream of, you know, what happens 20 years from now.
Absolutely. And beyond that, you've got to be ready for your opportunity when it comes. So it's one thing to have big dreams and ideas and ideals and all this kind of thing. But if you're not ready and you haven't done that diligence and put that thousands of hours of thought into something, then you're going to get bypassed. So when I saw, to give you an idea of the strategy, when Arnold finished being governor in 2011, he said, I'm going to take this fitness crusade worldwide. He said, I'm going to take it to every continent. And I went, ding! I've got this FitX I've just started. I'm going to build this. My first thought, I'm going to build this into the biggest and best fitness expo, multi-sport expo, kind of mimicking the Arnold in the world. Pardon me. So that when he looks at Australia, I'm his only choice. I'm going to be that guy no matter what. Right? I'm not going to miss this opportunity. And when I get that call, I'm going to say, I'm ready. I'm so ready. I was born ready. I've been waiting for this all my life. Where do I sign up? So I put myself in that position. So he went first from the USA. He said, my first one's going to be in Spain, and we're going to do one in Europe. We've chosen Spain because he filmed Conan the Barbarian there, which was his breakout movie. And he had a great affinity to Spain, and he lived there for 6 months working outside of Madrid. So that was a no-brainer. I'm thinking, I wonder what he's going to do next. He said, South America is our next one. And he'd smartened up by then, him and Jim, and they decided to, and then by then Bob Lorimer, Jim's son, was putting all the internationals together. And he said, well, we found this couple in, these partners in Brazil, but they've already got an expo. And Arnold, because he's the smartest guy I've ever met, he goes, well, that's a lot easier than doing a startup one. Why don't we just brand it over to be an Arnold Classic? And we've already got, how many people they're getting? They said, well, they're getting 30,000 now. He goes, well, imagine putting my name to it, what it can be. So they turned that into an Arnold Classic and went from 30,000 to 50 or 60,000 the first year. And when he was there doing the first Brazil one, someone sent me this link of him doing his speech. He goes, the next continent we're going to do is Australia. I'm like, oh my God, this is finally it, you know. But of course, I haven't heard from them, I haven't met them. I don't even know if they know who I am. But I've been putting all the pieces in place with a lot of other things behind the scenes. So I thought, okay, now's our chance. He said, oh, the next one's going to be Australia. Oh, shit, I hope they call me. You know, I've been working all my life for it. And they did. But when they did, I was ready. So that's my point. You can have all these dreams in the world, and I tell you to dream big, and you have to, but you also got to be ready. Don't just think, oh, I'm just going to get lucky one day, and you get the call and you get all nervous and go, oh, no, I'll think about it. They're going to go bzz, next. And I'd see it all the time when I do job interviews for people that come into my organisation. They come in undercooked, underprepared and lacking confidence, I see that as a weakness. Whereas if someone studies me, like one of the questions I asked when, because I've just started getting a little bit more involved in the hiring and firing, the hiring at the gyms. Because we got a couple of people in the system I didn't think really reflected me or my brand, or didn't represent me well when I wasn't there. So I said to my managers, listen, when you do this next lot of interviews, let me sit in. And one of the first things I said to them, what do you know about the Oldies Gym? Tell me about my brand. And some of them haven't got a clue. I'm like, you didn't even fucking Google it. Right? Or they dress the wrong way. They don't understand it's a gym. We're not a health club, we're not a corporate organisation, so don't come in a, you know, no offence, dressed like we are today. Or this one girl came in, she had so much makeup on, she looked like she was coming from a nightclub party, and high heels. And then the next one came in and she was dressed well, but she looked like a fitness. Not like she just had a workout sweat, but you know, she had some nice leggings or whatever and a gym-looking stuff, and not too much, like she looked like she was going to work in the gym. I'm like, you can start today. And the other one, I'm like, we're going to have to go home and change. You know, it's little things like that. And we all have the ability to study psychology. And this is one thing I think I've been really pretty good at, is working at the temperature in a room, going into a meeting, being able to work out what I need to say, what they need to hear. And so that's how the whole Arnold thing started, was me being prepared. And then, of course, I got the call, and that's another story.
So going back there in 2005, what advice perhaps would you have given yourself? What life lessons have you learned from 13 years that you thought, well, if I only did that back then, things would have been a lot easier?
Ooh, you know what? That's a really hard one, Mark, because the first thing I'd say with advice would be to tell myself to just don't quit. and to remind myself to be patient, that it takes a long time to get good at shit, and that you're going to make mistakes and it's okay. So I probably wouldn't change a whole lot of stuff. You know, there's probably things it's always very easy in hindsight to look back, oh, I would have done that different. But if you had done it different, then you probably wouldn't end up where you were, because you wouldn't have made the mistakes to teach you the life lessons you've needed to learn. You know, so it's a kind of really, to me, that's a really deep question, because I don't know that I'd change a whole lot of things. But the advice I give myself would be to be patient and don't quit. And that's what I say to people all the time. You just summed up, it's just 20 years in the making, yes. 30 years to pay off a shitty loan that you made a mistake with, yes. You know, 21 years is what I think is a cycle to succeed in any business that you've got to get your head around. 20, 21, 22 years. It really, really takes. And I often say to people now, I say, oh, look what you're doing. I go, yeah, it's been like a 30-year apprenticeship. I'm a bit of a slow learner, but I finally got there. And I feel like now I'm just getting started. So I think back to that time at 2005, man, I was just learning the tricks that I needed to go forward. Probably the one thing I've learned about people and staff and hiring and firing is, and one thing I probably would remind myself back then, is to listen to your gut. Because there's quite a lot of times, even just recently, where I think we were talking about it the other day, where I've had some people in one of my organisations that I knew had ran their race and they were no good. And they weren't, being honest, they weren't delivering what I wanted them to deliver, and they were telling a few lies and this and that. And I always have this kind of thing that in my life, it's like baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. And when you're out with me, you're out. We're done. I'll delete your number. We're done. You know, if I see you in the street, hi, but that's it. I'm not going to mentor you. I'm not going to help you out. I'm not going to hate on you. I'm not going to talk behind your back, because I don't do that. There's nothing I wouldn't say to behind someone's back, I wouldn't say to their face. But when we're done, we're done. And every time I've given someone that 4th opportunity, or that one too many, it might be 2, 3, but whatever, that's every time. What would I do that for when I already knew? When I already had the evidence and the feeling and the gut on this, and I've let other people influence it. And I had my one of my CEOs, one of my general managers with a particular employee go, oh, come on, you get even one more chance because damage control and this and that. And I go, no, I know this is no good. This is going to hurt our organisation. It's got to go. And I let them, I'm not blaming them because I allowed it. I let them talk me back. And then 3 months later, I'm like, oh, what did I do that for? So going back to 2005, it's knowing when to say no and when to cut people. When to say, you know what, I've bought you from the street, I've given you a million opportunities, I've given you everything, and you're not ready for this, it's time to go. And it might be a business that you've put money into where your gut says, you know what, you're flogging a dead horse, kill it. It might be a property, it might be gym, it might be investment, it might be a relationship. You know, it might be an employee thing. It's not just for employees, it's that gut thing. You know, so probably I'd tell myself that, just listen to your gut, because you're right more times than you'd know.
Absolutely, that's definitely good advice. I know I have the same thing. When you know, you always listen to your gut. Well, 95% of what neurotransmitters, serotonin at least, is made in your gut. So they call it the second brain for a reason, and you know, that is more than just a gut feeling. But just kind of switching a little bit, you spoke about Arnold before. When I think about the boyhood dream, the first person that comes to mind is you. So do you mind just taking us through that journey of, you know, I know you saw Arnold on TV. Before that, were you training, were you lifting weights, or was it literally?
No, because I was a kid. I was only a little kid. So I was like, I don't know, I was either 13 or 14, right? But this guy came on TV. I think it was the Mike Walsh show. Anyone else old enough to remember that? It was like here we go. It was like a variety host, like a Conan O'Brien or a Letterman, you know, the Australian version. And I think it was him anyway. And I remember being at home, and my dad was in the room. I can't remember the brothers, sisters, whatever. But I remember seeing this guy, and I'm like, what the hell? What is that? You know, it was Arnold, and he was flogging a book, promoting a book called Arnold: The Education of a Bodybuilder. You know, and he was in Australia doing a tour. And I was like, wow, what is that? And my dad's like, oh, he's a bodybuilder. Listen up. So I listened to the interview. And I saw not just the muscles. I mean, I wanted to be him straight away. I'm like, I want to have muscles like that. And I'm, Dad, how do you get like that? And he goes, probably need to work out. And you're a bit tubby. You probably want to learn about nutrition and, you know, find out. But there's you can't Google it. Like back then it was like you had to go to the library or whatever. I said, well, pardon me, my birthday or Christmas is coming up. Can I get that book? In fact, I don't want anything else in the world. I just want that book. But all the other money, whatever you got into the other kids, just please, or I'll go find it. And they said, no, we'll get you the book for birthday, Christmas, whatever. Because my birthday's in November, Christmas, December, so I know it was around then. Anyway, all I wanted was that book. But when I look, and I go, Dad, what's that things in his arms? And he goes, oh, they're veins. I'm like, wow, because he had this paper-thin skin. You know, it was Arnold in the late 70s. He was just as good as he got. And I was like, wow. But it wasn't just the muscles that impressed this young, impressionable boy in this little country town. It was his confidence and his charisma and the fact that he'd left Austria and taken on America. I'm like, I've got to get out of this town. I knew. It was amazing to me looking back, because I always knew I didn't want to be the same as everyone else when I was a little kid. I never bought what they were selling with education, university qualifications. Always knew I didn't want to work 9 to 5 or work in a thing with fluorescent lights and those little shells. I saw a picture of that when I was a kid and I'm like, you serious? You're going to do your whole life doing that? All the money in the world? No. I'm smarter than that. I knew. But I didn't know what it was. And it was that day, this light went off and I'm like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder and a promoter and a gym owner. That's it. And my poor parents are like, but you know, we've gone without, so you could go to university. I said, that's nice. You've got 3 other kids. Put all the money into them. I don't even want pocket money anymore. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to work this shit out. Get me the book. And it's funny, because you've been in my office yourself, collected everything from my whole life, all over there, except for that book, because I read it so many times that it fell to pieces. And I wish I hadn't have, I threw it out, because book. Because it was in so many pieces, it didn't just fall to pieces, it fell in 100 pieces, you know. And it was just life-changing for me. So I had this thing from the first time I saw Arnold, I'm going to be like him. And then, then that escalated. So I want to meet the guy one day. I read his book, I did bodybuilding, got all jacked up and, became a gym. I'd like to meet Arnold. So that first time I went to the Arnold Classic in 91, you could pay an extra $50 and get the VIP experience and have a picture with him. And I've still got the picture. It's up in my gym somewhere of me meeting him. Now, it wasn't very memorable for him because I was in a queue and this guy pushed me, I still remember. He catches you, he goes, how you doing? Fantastic. Click. And he pushes you again. Someone else catches you, and back then there was no digital. So the guy passes the Polaroid picture to the guy that pushes you out the door. As you go out the door, there's this big black guy who's the size of the door, gave me a picture frame, this cardboard picture frame. And in one hand I got a frame, the other hand I got this thing, I'm shaking like mad, hoping that the picture's going to turn out, and it did. I met Arnold, whoa! I put it in a little folder in the album and took it back, and it was my most cherished possession. So then, of course, you want more. I'm like, well, be cool to actually meet him, and for him just to know, I think the next ambition was for him just to know who I was. Just so one day he said, hey, Tony, or what, like that with next level. Not even a friendship, just an acknowledgement. I was like, okay, this is next. So all my life I had this, I want to meet him, I want to get a picture with him, I want to get to know him. And then that happened, and and it escalated a bit more. And then when we met and became business partners, well, I'd like to be friends. I'd like to smoke a cigar with him and go to restaurants and travel the world with him. And that's what happened. So it all started from just this little kid with a big dream.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. You touched on something there about growing up in Bendigo. Now, we've spoken about parenting before. You've got 4 kids, growing up in the suburbs. You grew up in Bendigo, which is probably a very different, and also at the time, a very different upbringing than what most kids possibly who are watching this might be, comfortable in their suburban kind of home and suburban life. What impact did growing up in a small country town in, 1970 or so?
Yeah. Well, I was born in 64, so it was sort of, grew up in the 70s, I guess, and so what's the question?
So what impact did growing up on you? What do you feel what impact did it have on you growing up in that town? And is there something out of that you feel kids today are missing? I mean, is it a contributing factor for that, that famous Tony Doherty iron will, how has it changed you? How has it developed you?
No, I don't think so, because I always had it. I think if you've got it, you've got it. Or if you make a decision to be that person, to be obsessed and to chase your dreams, you've got it. With kids today or back then. Growing up in a country town, all that did was make me want to get the hell out of there. Maybe, I'd see, when I was a kid, I'd see, on a black and white TV, and I'd see pictures of New York. I remember the start of Disneyland, because it was like we had 2 channels. We didn't have 7, 9, 10 and the ABC. In the country towns, you had the ABC and then this hybrid of the other 3 commercial stations. So we had like Disneyland, the Gilligan's Island, these kind of shows. There was no Fox, there was no digital, there was nothing. no internet. So I'd see pictures of the USA as a kid. I just want to get out. I'd see pictures of New York City and pictures of Paris and London on TV. And all I wanted to do was to get out of this country town and to see the great cities of the world. I just always knew. But I think if I had grown up in a city, then I would have just probably not had to have got out of anywhere, but I probably would have turned out the same. And I don't think kids today, like my kids, miss out so much on growing up in the country, because we lived in a house, we didn't live on a farm. We lived in a regular street, in a suburban thing. But I think what the kids don't have today is the freedoms that we had. You know, like we rode our bikes to school. Mum never had a car. I never ever once in my life got dropped off at school. And I wanted to work from a really early age. So I think when I was like 11, I had a paper run. So I'd go out on my push bike at like 4:30 in the morning, go and pick up the newspapers, pack them into those little saddlebags you have on your bike, and go and deliver papers before school. Then I'd go to school. Then I'd go clean like a butcher shop or something at night, or work in a hardware. So I always wanted to work. When I was like, I think I got my first like actual job after the paper run, like when I was 13 or 14. And when we weren't working and trying to make some bucks, because Mum and Dad didn't have a lot of money, we'd play on the street. And I think that's what the kids miss out on today. And when I do my talk now about the Fitness Crusade, which is what Arnold's got me doing worldwide, is that we'd play football or cricket, depending what time of the year it was, on the street until dark, until Mum would say, "Dinner's ready," and she'd be yelling and screaming, and you'd be waiting for that last little bit. You'd hit the ball, and you'd think, "Shit, we're not going to find that ball. It actually is dark." To the last. Remember that? People, we grew up like that. There was nothing on TV. There was no phones or anything, and you rode your bike everywhere, so it was free. I used to have a slug gun, and I'd put that on my little dragster bike and ride around with a gun. No one battered on. I'd go shoot some birds or something, or targets, and then come home. And growing up like that, it was the ultimate freedom, because the adults weren't terrified of the stranger danger and all this sort of thing. There wasn't this age of, I don't know, we've just become such a safe society, and I think that's what kids have missed out on. It's just being able to be kids. They're just forced to grow up so fast and have these adult understandings and adult values. Like my kids tell me stuff, I'm a 10-year-old knows stuff that I'm like, how do you know that? Oh, too much. But she's got an iPad, and I don't hold back with that stuff with my kids. I bought them all phones as soon as they could work out how to use a phone. Why not? And then teach them how to use it responsibly, rather than demonise something. I've always had reverse psychology with parenting, because my parents were very, very straight-laced and don't do this and don't do that, and it was all about control, and that was it. That was how they were brought up. They didn't know any different. It didn't mean they wanted the best for us. But in doing that and having a rebellious, kind of addictive, obsessed nature, I wanted to do everything that they told me not to do. I'm like, that must be good if you tell me not to do it. Right, so with my kids, I've had a complete opposite approach. And if you want to talk about education of kids, we can go into a little rave about that, because I've got really strong views about that. And having gyms, right? And you guys know, being in the industry, you meet people from all walks of life. I study psychology like a science. I've never been to school. Well, I got thrown out of school when I was 16, but I never went to university or anything. But I could probably hold my own with most psychologists that I've met and interviewed, because I ask a lot of questions. I'm very curious, and I learn as much as I can about behaviour of people. So education is one of my little ticks that I watch. And I'm not a big believer in pushing kids to do university. And in the US, for example, they say, if you don't go to college, you got nothing. If you don't get those letters after your name, you got nothing to fall back on. You're not going to be anything. You look at all the people that are the leaders of the biggest organisations in the world. Most of them are either dropouts or self-educated or whatever. And then you look at what's available to the kids today. It's where is it? Here. Look at this. Every library in the world is in your pocket. This is amazing. I just love. I'm almost envious of my kids, because if I wanted to find shit out when I was a kid, man, it was an effort. You have to go to a library or get a magazine and do some mail order thing and wait for it to come to get the book to find out what you want to know. They Google it. One of my girls is the most unbelievable research person I've ever met. I say one word to her, she's got facts, figures, opening times, prices, branches, be looking for something to buy, a shop. She goes, oh, such and such, only 2 suburbs away, it closes at 6. They've got 3 in your size, and if we get there, leave now, we'll be there in 14 minutes if the traffic's good. Okay? My PA can't even do that. I mean, it's crazy. So, back to the education thing, I think that we've pushed kids so hard and made them feel like they're a loser or they're a drop if they don't. And I had this enormous pressure from my family saying, you know, we've saved up for you to go to uni. I'm like, I don't need that. They only wanted the best for me because they didn't have those opportunities, but I think it's gone too far the other way. So I watch people all the time, and I just say to my kids, I want you to find something that you love doing, that you're passionate about, right, and then we'll work out how to make a living out of it. If that involves going to uni, I'll back you all the way. But if that's not for you, I'll back you all the way, whatever. Right, I've got these one family, I watched, they're an Albanian family, and I watched these kids grow up. We had a shop and they lived kind of next door. Anyway, long story short, they're always really well-mannered kids. Their dad had made a lot of money. I don't know how, doesn't matter, but he had properties and stuff. I've never seen him work, but he owns a couple of pubs and he's got buildings and properties everywhere. So he said to his 3 sons, he goes, you know what, don't work. I've put enough money away, whatever. When you turn 18, I'll buy you a Mercedes-Benz. Just go out, hang out, meet chicks, have fun, party, go places with your mates, travel, see the world, whatever, don't worry about school. And I think he was using reverse psychology. He's just laid back about it. He goes, if you want to do that, do it, but there's no pressure. So turn 18, they get a Mercedes-Benz. So the first one we turned 18, he goes, Dad, I wouldn't mind going to uni. I think I want to do law. Now he's a corporate lawyer. The second one's an engineer and the third one's an architect. And I've never seen kids with less pressure. They've got mates who force their kids into university and 2 of them are doing rehab and one's dead. You know, because they were under so much pressure, they just turned to drugs, and one overdosed because he was just going so hard because he rebelled so badly against what his family forced him to do. And you stop and think, there's something in that. You know, why are we so obsessed with pushing our kids this American way to say, boom, we're the greatest country in the world. You want to make it here, you're going to make it, right? And if you're obsessed with doing something, you're going to be obsessed, you're going to make it work. So I've got kind of, and I don't know if I'm right, I just know that I've seen a lot of shit. And the majority of kids I've seen forced into private schools and forced into university have grown up to be failures and losers. And even the guys I went to school with, the really brainy ones who had just had this academic pathway. I went to a school reunion a couple of years ago, I'm like, really? Yeah, I'm not trying to judge, but look at you. You know, one guy, I remember, he was a genius. He went to the school I went to, right? Then he went to teachers college. Then he got a job back at the school, he's still there. Well, you haven't fucking left. Oh!
Do you have any parenting mottos, or is that it in a summary?
What do you mean by mottos, like little sayings?
Yeah, little sayings or things that you live by. It's like you said, you know, you're pretty free with the iPads and stuff like this.
Oh man, I'm just free. I don't lie to them. You know, the girls, I've got 1 son, 3 daughters. The son, I'm probably a little bit more truthful than the girls because it's stuff I don't want to tell them. But I'm really honest with them. I don't pretend that the world's a beautiful place. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't, you know, mollycoddle them or wrap them in cotton wool or anything else. I encourage them to play outside, encourage them to make good decisions. I encourage them to communicate and have open channels with me and make them understand they can tell me absolutely anything. I've always kind of said this thing, if it comes from you, you tell me something. If you screw up, if it comes from you, you can't get in trouble. But if the school calls or the police knock on the door and you haven't told me, we've got a big problem. So that's kind of kept the channels open. So it's an evolving thing, you know, like some of you guys have got kids, you know, it's hard.
Do you think in a way that kids, you know, going back to where you were in Bendigo, very isolated, very just, you know, focused, this is the goal, this is the path, have to get out every day. Do you think kids are more distracted today with the iPhones and the iPads? I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? They can research anything they want, but at the same time they get distracted and kind of pulled in different directions, possibly from their calling of what they really want to be doing.
No, I don't. I think that there's always going to be temptation. There's always going to be, you're going to get led astray with or without technology, right? I think that kids, if they use it properly, fantastic. What does concern me is kids are inactive. And this is where this fitness crusade comes into play, and this is what I talk. I'm getting finally in front of government agencies and Visit Victoria and Sport and Recreation, and we're addressing on Monday 41 different sporting leaders are coming to hear me talk about our fitness crusade and how we can change lives. And what concerns me is that kids are more inactive than they've ever been before, right? Because of their phones and their iPads and their PlayStations. They're not out, so you don't see kids riding their bike, you don't see them playing on the street, and it's not just a safety thing. You know, their engagement in sport and doing something to be fit is at an all-time low, and obesity is an all-time high. And I think that's way worse than seeing some bad shit on iPad. I mean, they've got Netflix, they can watch someone getting their head cut off if they go on the right channel. You know, like, they're not as insulated as they were, but there's different temptations. So when I was a kid, you know, we were arsonists, vandals, thieves. You know, we'd shoot things, we'd set fire to things, we'd steal things, and, you know, kids aren't doing that, they're doing dumb shit online. There's dumb shit either way. Kids do dumb shit, right? So you've got to try and help them to understand the consequences of dumb shit and to make good choices and to not be that one who's on the edge all the time. You know, so I think that there's more good than bad with technology because they've got the world at their feet. You know, like, I've always said this thing about travelling. I think, shit, imagine when I was a kid if I could have actually researched some of these places. I've been to, I think, 60 countries. I probably would have been to 100 by now if I'd had access to that stuff. You know, because I had to wait for it to come on TV. But you know what I mean? So you can look at it either way, but I don't think it's negative. I think it's just society and the world, everything evolves. And kids evolve. Kids, they're way smarter than we were. Kids are so smart, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Switching gears just a tiny bit, what's been your biggest or most challenging business moment? Did you want to quit, and how do you get through it? Because, I mean, business isn't always obviously smooth sailing.
Well, I don't think I've got a most challenging moment. I find that question really hard to answer. What's your most challenging moment? Because I don't know.
Something that anything.
Oh, there's been we sit here all day and I'll tell you 100 challenging moments I've never told anyone. There's so many. But did I ever want to quit? Now, this is something you all need to know, and anyone listening needs to hear, is that we all feel like quitting. Every single one of us has days where you just don't want to leave the house. You say, I can't deal with anyone. I don't want to have to face that problem. I don't want to have to deal with this stress. I don't want to have to see that person. I don't want to have that confrontation. For all of us, every single day. But I just never did quit. And I think anyone says, oh no, I never wanted to quit, bullshit. You know, we all have tough days. And it's how you deal with it that's going to define your success in life. It's by being saying, no matter what, I'm going to show up. I'll take the punches. I'll take the hits. I'll take the hard days. And I look back and I've had so many hard days. I did a piece on it the other day and just said, well, I probably wouldn't change them because it's made me tougher and stronger and learned me to know me and my brand and what I'm good at and what I'm not good at and what I failed at, I've learned from and so on. And it's all okay. You know, but the lowest point in business, I mean, whenever you lose a shitload of money and other people suffer, that's a low. Yeah, I remember early on, like one of the pro shows, and it was 2004, in fact, a bit of a Rain Man with details and numbers and names and times. And it's good for names though, because I remember everyone's name. So someone comes in the gym after 15 years, this guy came in yesterday, I'm like, Ennio. He goes, well, I haven't been there since 2005 or 2006, and it's a weird name. And I remembered it. So I've always had this thing with, everyone's got a little something, right, with memory. And so it was 2004, we had the Australian Pro bodybuilding, and it was like Chris Cormier, Dexter Jackson, Marcus Rule, fantastic King Kamali, Craig Titus in this lineup. It was the best lineup we'd ever had, and I'd broke even or lost money on it every year. It's just a little story. Just understand sometimes you get kicked in, you know, where it hurts. And it was the best lineup ever. And if you Google the pre-judging of that show, it's one of the most watched videos ever, because this guy Kamali and Titus hated each other's guts. And the internet had just become popular with it. Remember those forums, the bodybuilding forums? And they were going on these forums giving each other death threats and everything, right? And it gets funnier, because when they're on the way here, Titus left from Vegas and Kamali left from New Jersey. He flew from Newark in New Jersey to LA. Titus flew from Vegas to LA. And it was United flight UA94, I think, coming into Melbourne. And Kamali was on the plane first. Titus flew in from Vegas, was running late. He walks down the aisle of the plane with his ticket 29C. The plane's full. He turns, there's one seat left. It's next to Kamali and his wife. And they had to sit together for 14 hours. And these guys were like, you know, restraining orders, death threats, everything. So it was fantastic. And I'd done this postcard of them facing off at each other, Kamali versus Titus, you know, something about death and all this stuff. And Titus ended up going to jail for murder. So he was a genuine nutcase. He's doing 56 years. True story. Anyway, that one. So after the show, I'd finally made some money. I'd made like 25 grand or something. I'm like, wow. And I was married at the time. We had two 2 little kids. I'd said to Amanda, after this show, you know, because we've gone without for so long, we just bought our house and so on. I said, we're going to go on a holiday. We're going to go to Fiji or somewhere like that and have a break. And we made some money finally. And there was 2 vans of athletes went to the airport. And I was driving the second one because back then I used to sell the tickets, cut up the popcorn, drive the van, set up backstage, everything, you know. I still do to a point, but not as bad as that, but it was everything. So I was driving one of the vans. So I got there behind the other one. I walked to the airport. You know when you just get a bad feeling? Something's wrong. And I went to the United counter and they're all still standing. I'm thinking, why aren't they on the plane? There's something wrong. So I said, what's up? And they said, well, the lady won't let us on the plane. Long story short, their ticket, the type of ticket I'd got them, which was a cheaper ticket, said they had to be in Australia for 5 nights and they'd only been there 3 or 4 nights. And one of their wives had been extremely rude to the lady at the counter. Like talked down to you as Americans sometimes do, and it'd been very confrontational. And the lady got her back up and she goes, you know what? I just looked at the conditions on your ticket. You're not getting on that plane today. Oh. I'll go talk to her. Mr. Charming, right? Psychologist, all this shit. So, excuse me, ma'am. I said, I apologise for anyone that's spoken badly to you. It's this group of people that, you know, hard few days, whatever I said. She goes, yeah, I've been through that with that rude lady. They're not getting on the plane today. Check your ticket. Well, yeah, but is there something we can do? Like, I'm really sorry. She goes, yep, what you can do is if you want to get them on a flight today, there's 7 or 8 of them, whatever it was. You can buy 7 or 8 one-way tickets to LA. On your credit card, you've got 15 minutes. Whoa. Please, ma'am. Anyway, so I called my travel agent. He's like, don't worry, I know the lady that runs all of United, I'll call her. So he calls her, she's at a barbecue. How dare you call me at the weekend? I've already had a call from my operator about your rude group. We're done. She calls me and goes, brother, I think we've got a big problem. Anyway, I went back to the counter and go, please, I said, I'm begging, is there something we can do? She goes, nothing we can do. And I put my hand, I still remember putting my hand up on the thing and there was a strip of aluminium there, it was really sharp and it tore my finger and I'm bleeding like hell. I'm going, look, I won't even sue you about your faulty counter. You just help me with the poop. She goes, get first aid, get a Band-Aid, whatever. Next. Oh, we're gone. Anyway, I got down to 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. She goes, it's going to take me at least 3 minutes to process those cards. If you want them on the plane, this is it. So I pulled out my credit card, which I hate using, and I bought 7 one-way tickets to LA and it cost $18,000. So this family holiday, this successful event, the best promoter in the free world, just did his balls at the last moment. So that was a, you know, I remember driving back, hey, yeah, that trip, no, we're not going. That was a hard one. But, you know, I've still got the same travel agent because he ended up sending me half because he accepted that he'd made a mistake and we'd both, you know, rolled the dice and, you know, I've spent over $1 million with him since because of his loyalty in that situation. So I learned something about a good person and I learned something about how to deal with shit. But I've got 100 stories like that.
Wow.
Bigger, better, worse.
Incredible. I mean, the fitness industry has changed quite considerably. If you know, go back to the 1980s, you know, the heyday, the Frank Columbus, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Pumping Iron, that whole movement where it just kind of had a different feel to it to today where you kind of see you know, Lycra and, you know, fluoro colors in the gym and who knows what, Instagram, people on their phones, social media, glute exercises, and who knows what else. What? You
just named all the things you hate, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, apart from those, has there been any other, I suppose, observations that you've made? And also on that, how has it affected the Doherty's brand?
Well, first with the fitness industry, I try and see the positive in everything. I don't know, it's like a sickness. I think it's great. You know, because back then, you look at pro bodybuilding back then, there was only 10 pro bodybuilders in the world. Now we've got 10 categories with thousands of pros who've got an opportunity to make a living and see the world and promote themselves. And as much as it sucks to see people in the gyms doing their selfies and having 5 and 10 minute sets between, rest between their sets, that's their trip. You know, but there's a whole lot more people doing fitness than ever before. There's a whole lot more excitement. You know, fitness people have become kind of celebrities in the real world because of their working out and their bodies and their Instagram followings. And, you know, probably going back when I first started doing the expos, I was like, oh, who are these dickheads, you know, these Insta famous people. And I'm like, shit, they sell a lot of tickets. Who can we get next? You know, I've just embraced it. I'm just like, man, it is what it is, you know. The thing is, if I'm working out and someone's on a bench, playing on their phone on Instagram and taking selfies and not doing exercise and I want the bench, that pisses me off. But being the abrupt kind of upfront person I normally politely say to them, look, do your thing. I'm not going to attack you about that, but can you sit over there and do it or finish your set? But I think there's more good than bad in all of it, because we've got an opportunity now to have more people interested in fitness. There's all you guys making livings as trainers that you wouldn't have before if it wasn't for the popularity and the internet and that side of it. So you've got to take the good with the bad, and I think for the most part, that was kind of a golden age in bodybuilding specifically. But I think of Arnold, and I've talked to him a lot about this, about his fitness crusade. And when he started 50 years ago, he started travelling to promote first his books that I saw on TV, and then later on to promote his courses, and then his competitions, and then to promote his movies, and no one promoted better than him because he learned his lessons from bodybuilding. So when he went to promote movies, he was the first movie star to go to every single state. He'd go to 52 states for an opening and for a promotion and to meet the people. And he still does. His work ethic is ridiculous, which is why he's had the success that he's had. And same with politics and everything he's attacked. He's been so obsessive about it that he's had great success. And he talks to me about the early days, where he couldn't find a single gym in a city with gym equipment, even a pull-down machine. And he says, look at it now. Every single hotel in the world's got dumbbells and treadmills. Every fire station, police station in the US has got their own gym. Every high school, every university's got facilities like my Brunswick gym, you've seen the squat racks and the whole set of everything in every school in the world. And there's nowhere you can't go now, you can't not find a gym. And that's happened during his fitness crusade. And him starting that whole pumping iron thing and bodybuilding, making it popular with his TV, has contributed to that enormously. But now everything that the Instagrammers are doing is also contributing to it. So everyone's making a buck, There's more studios, there's more personal trainers, but there's more people training. I think the bottom line is there's more people getting fit than ever before, and we've got a chance to impact them. But my passion now is to influence the kids to want to be fit and feel good about themselves. And all this political correctness of, you don't have ever got a good body to feel bad about yourself, it's okay to be fat. No, it's not. It's not okay to feel bad about yourself. And a small percentage probably think it's great to be morbidly obese or fat and walk around and the rest of it. But for the most of the kids growing up that aren't being given the license to feel good about themselves, it concerns me. So I want to see kids get active and play more sport and get them into the gyms and all that. So long answer, but I think it's all good.
Yeah. So I suppose in terms of the brand, because Doherty's, it seems that the brand has absorbed, I suppose, part of that culture. Because if you can contrast it to, say, the 1980s, Arnold Schwarzenegger, kind of mainly a male-centric gym environment. Now you've got a lot more females in the gym. Yeah. So really, I suppose the bottom line is bigger turnovers for gyms. Really, bigger turnovers.
How it's impacted Doherty's is that the social media and the people taking selfies in my gym that tag my gym make it more popular, make more people come. We've got more women coming than ever before. We've got more kids, more older people coming, more mainstream people come, because you can't, and this is you too, Mark, you can't just knock it and go, but all these Instagram, because we both use it as a tool. So I can't say, I hate that part of it, because I love it, man. I'm all over social media. I think it's fantastic. And we've been able to use just certain hashtags in social media to break down some misconceptions about our brand. Because one thing is it's just for meatheads and you've got to be super muscular to walk in there. So we started this hashtag home away from home. Fitness for everyone, this kind of thing. And it's broken down some barriers where more people are comfortable to walk in the door. So I can't say, I hate people doing selfies, but I'm going to use it to, So I just try and find the positive in it and go, okay, well, how can we use that to our advantage? How can we embrace that kind of technology and make it popular? And say, okay, while you're here, can you hashtag home away from home, Australian Mecca? So we've got all these little hashtags that we tell people to do, and it's just, I think it's great. So it's impacted the brand in a good way.
On social media, what platforms are you on personally versus like Doherty's? Do you split it up? Do you have an ad agency for, say, Doherty's?
I've never had an ad agency for anything in my whole life. I've got a publicist for the Arnold. I've got a full-time, Australia's best publicist, Max Markson. Works for me full-time 3 months of the year, and I've got him on a retainer the rest of the time. But as far as ad agencies, I don't even know what they are.
So what do you do in terms of your promotions for, say, Doherty's? So in terms of the content that comes out of, say, the Tony Doherty pages on Instagram and Facebook, that's all you, correct?
That's all me. Well, yeah, mostly Instagram. Just back to that, I hardly use Facebook at all. I'll transfer some stuff from Instagram just to keep it alive. The truth of it is, there's so much more interaction on Instagram. When I talk to the young people, all the people that work for me and the kids and, you know, people that are really active on it, it's all Instagram. Instagram's just kicking butt, it really is. I still use the other stuff, but only to drive people to the Instagram page, really. So my personal brand, I do a lot of Instagram stuff. I do that all myself. I don't plan it, it's just spontaneous. I do a thing every day, most days, called Real Talk, where I just blurt out those 15-second things about life, and that's having about, if I do it daily, if I travel, it drops off a little bit, but I've been back for 2 months now, and it's built right up, and I'm getting 4,000 views on my story every day. And I might do 20 stories, they all get 3,500 to 4,500 views a day, which is like 10% of the people that follow me, which is a really high interaction rate. And with the gyms and with the Arnold and with some other stuff that I do, I think there's about 8 different Instagram pages that we control. So I have someone, I've got a film guy like you do that does my video stuff for my personal one and for the Arnold and for the Dohertys. And then I've got a couple of people that are allowed to post, but I'm really careful with it, because if you get the wrong person posting the wrong message or the wrong image of the brand, it can just undo years of work in minutes, literally. So I'm still kind of controlling with that sort of stuff. But we have meetings once a week where we plan what we're going to do for the next week or two, and then if I go missing, at least I've got a plan. But we've just got thousands, hundreds of thousands of pictures and files of people that have trained there over the years, and stories and testimonials and stuff like that. So we just kind of say, okay, why are we doing it? That's always the question with the social media stuff. Is it to get more meatheads? If that's the case, we'll put up more pictures of Ronnie Coleman or someone training at the gym. Is it to get more regular people? Then we do interviews with regular people talking about regular things and saying, in fact, we just did this series, I've only released a couple of them, where we interviewed 15 members that have been there for more than 20 years. Can you imagine that? I mean, our renewal rate at our gym, I know in Brunswick's over 70%. The industry runs on 15%. That's pretty good, huh? And that's because we look after people, it becomes part of their lives. But when you interview someone about what the gym's meant to their life over 20 years, it's moving. It's unbelievably amazing, because this has become the most stable thing in their life, where marriages have failed, parents have died, kids have dropped out, fallen off the wagon, whatever, where there's one guy I interviewed, and he'd been through a really rugged divorce, and he came to the gym because he wanted to kill himself. He said, I've got to do something for myself, so I'm going mad. He'd moved back in with his mum and dad at 40, kids, everything, and he really lost his mind. And he came and joined the gym, and I didn't know this whole story until recently. And that became part of his life. Then he met his second wife, his kids grew up, he's now a grandfather, he's got a very successful business, he travels, he's followed all these places I tell him to go to and so on. But it's been the most stable thing of his life. So now I'm using it to try and say to people, most people don't go to the gyms to change their bodies or to get in shape. That's part of it, but with our gym. It's different with transformation and stuff, but with our gym, they go there to cope. And it becomes such an important part of people's life where, you know, I think years ago people had churches before TV and social media. That's why religion was popular, not because of the God factor, it's part of it, but most of it was the socialisation and just the fact that they had somewhere to congregate and to meet. Now we've got groups, you know, and apps. But gyms are really, really magic places. I'm a gym guy, unashamedly. I hang out at my gym, I can't wait to get there every day. I get excited when I talk about it, and I think that shines through. So then, I guess, long answer is that's kind of the message we try and get out with our social media, that it's for everyone. You know, you haven't got to come and be Mr. Olympia, but if you want to, we can take you there. But if you just want to come to get away from your crazy life or to cope, it's a big part of it. I did a podcast this week on mental health, and the importance of exercise for mental health. It's the greatest cure for depression. You know, that people are doing it really, really hard. If they could just exercise every day and clear their minds, what a difference it makes. And we all know it, right? You know when you don't train for a while and you go, oh, I don't miss it. It's when you start again, you go, oh, I didn't realise how much I missed it. It's one of those things. It's like if you've been in shape and you get fat, you go, oh yeah, it's not nothing. And then you start to get in shape again and you go, oh, fuck. How'd I ever let myself go? You know, it's a funny thing. You only notice it on the way back.
To circle back to what you were talking about before about the real talk, so they're just, for those who don't know, and add in anything that I missed, but they're just those 15-second holding the Instagram down and saying something to the camera and just doing a sequence of those. Is that how you do?
Yeah.
And in that, what effect would you say that has been doing that regularly has had on, either entries into Doherty's gym?
Oh, nothing to do with Doherty's gym.
Nothing to do?
No, this is my personal shit. This is more to do with getting more speaking engagements like this and impacting more people. With my relentless momentum movement, it's turned into now a movie and a book and a whole lot of other things I'm doing with it. So that's not the Doherty's gym thing. The real talk's just the Tony Doherty thing.
So that's not having a direct impact on like memberships or anything like that, just because that's your personal crusade kind of thing?
No.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're doing for Doherty's that's similar to that, or is it just more?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm using like the same filmmaker to do some of the stuff, like the testimonials from the 20-year members. That's Doherty stuff. But the psychology of that is just to break down the barriers a little bit and just make people understand it's for everyone. Because the worst thing with my gyms is I get people come in and I get to know them after a while and they go, I've been going to come here for like a year or 2 years or 10 years. I go, what happened? I was a bit overweight, I wasn't really fit, and I thought your gym was just for fit people. So I went and joined Good Life for a year, or Snap Fitness around the corner to get myself fit to come to Doherty's. So it's almost become like a university where everyone goes, I've got to graduate to get there. Now, it's good from a service point of view because most people that come to our gyms don't need a program. They're already well versed in how to train, so just come and do their thing. We've always had that. It's the one place you can just go and just be left alone.
It was the first 24/7 gym?
Yeah, when I did it was the only 24/7 gym in Australia. And we were the only one staffed for a long, long time. Where, so the first I opened 24 hours a day, I've told you this, I threw the keys away. I said, if I need a plan B, I'm not serious about this. So I threw away the keys. I said, I'm never going to close those doors again. I'll figure it out. If I've got the keys, there's always that little way out. I'll just close down one night. Never. And I said, no matter what mayhem, natural disasters, whatever the world throws at me, I'll never, ever shut the doors. And then I never have. It was 20 years in April. Yeah. 20 years staffed every minute. Paid staff every single minute. There's not a time, there's no keys. And when we opened up in the city and went 24 hours, I threw them into the Yarra, into the river. That's my thing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I hope you've been enjoying this interview. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay tuned to our YouTube, where there's going to be more great parts and episodes coming up from the Wolf's Den. See you soon. It saddens me to see personal trainers not earn the income that they should rightfully earn because business is getting in their own way.
So there must be a better way of doing it. Have we all been guilty of doing this?
It isn't that they can't see the solution, it's just that they can't see the problem.
Wolfpack is for that trainer who wants to be that island of excellence that is surrounded by a sea of mediocrity. I've got a client that I pulled from my leads to put on, and I thought it'd be really cool if one of you guys sold it. So who wants to take the call?
Because there's a certain reward in seeing somebody change their life.
One of the most important things you can do all day is when someone walks through the door, say hello. I'm more committed to your excellence and you're committed to your excellence. I want you to remember the pain of being a spectator in your own life. So from training, nutrition, supplementation to the delivery of the session to programming, the goal with Wolfpack is to raise the standard of personal training worldwide.
Wolfpack is for the person who's got a goal and a desire to be not just successful at being a trainer, but being at the top of the game. That's what I think of the Wolfpack when I think of it. That's what I think is Mark's objective.
Like an artist or a sculpture, but their art is the human body, is wellness, is health. But you're here for a reason. Is that correct? Good. Mark molds your body from being a broken down fucking wreck that can't move properly to being a machine of love and grace that can do shit.
Tobry, and welcome to Wolfpack Online.